All right, we're back, guys. We are here. Already got a few comments in here, so people must be pretty excited about the recap today and what happened in the episode. But we are back on a Tuesday, so we won't be here on Wednesday this week. They changed it up. Do you know why they moved it?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. Someone said something about the NFL, but as far as I know, I don't think they do any football on CBS anymore.
Well, not on Wednesdays. Yeah, not on Wednesdays.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. But here we are, guys. We're here to recap the latest episode. This, as always, is David. I am Cam. We're going to break down the episode, go from beginning to end, let you know how we feel, what we like, what we don't like. I will also myself tell you what I hate, because there's a couple things I do hate. So
good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and we'll start off with the first thing that happened, but one of my first annoyances of the episode, David and his fake tears. Good grief.
So I actually I thought it was funny because he did an interview with ET Canada before BB21 where he actually said one of his talents was crying on command, and he actually did it during the interview, so that was funny to watch. But obviously he wasn't able to do it in the house that season because he was the first one voted out, unfortunately, or evicted. But yeah, I mean, it was a funny little segment to see happen. Did it really have any effect on Davon, who came in and checked on him? Probably not. Does it really help his game in any way? Probably not. It probably just hurts it. But
so just a little background into it is he was nominated with Kevin on the block, and David has the disruptor power, which means he can pull a nominee off and be safe. So basically what happens is he knows that he's going to use it. He's nominated, but he wants to put up this facade and this image that he's so sad and doesn't know what's going on, which is completely ridiculous. Like, as I think it was Davon who said, like, he goes up to Davon and goes, "Did you save me?" And nobody's believing this. And he should own this, right? Like, he has nobody in the house. He should stand up, stick his chest out, say it real deep, and go, "Yeah, I saved myself. Don't mess with me," right?
And it can't hurt to, look Memphis in the face while you're saying all of that you just said. So, I mean, honestly, though, like, him lying and him asking, like, Cody, Tyler, Davon, how's it going, Dem? Him asking them if they saved him, like, that just does not help his game at all, because they were all able to read right through it. It just makes him seem sneaky and even more untrustworthy than apparently he already is. So I didn't really understand that. Like, it was funny for us viewers to see. I thought Tyler's reaction was hilarious when he just laughed. He's like, "Why would I save you?"
I've got that written down. Yeah, he's like,
yeah. So, I love it from a viewer perspective, but not the last thing David should be doing. And I mean, like you said, Davon was even saying the DR, like, why are you doing like a victory lap? Like, let's just, you're safe. Let's be humble here. So not a good move.
Yeah. Tyler's reaction was great when he looked, he said, why would I have a power to protect myself and not protect myself and pull you off and risk that? Like, David, God, it was so ridiculous. I just couldn't even handle it. But he had a waterfall going. He had a lot of tears going there.
Absolutely, yeah. And he said that was one of his secret talents in his preseason interview last year. So more power to him. I mean, he was able to, the tears just came flowing right away. And Nicole F. wishes she had that power, that she could cry in command, and I'm sure we'll get into that.
Listen, Nicole cries enough. We don't need her to have the ability to just make herself cry at random. I've got some things on her too that I don't understand. I just want her out. I want her gone out of the house as a game player. Can't stand her. But we'll get into that. But yeah, so David's basically going around asking everybody, "Did you save me? Did you save me?" Nobody's saving you, David. We know it's you. Like, we know it's you. Stop. Right.
And I thought even before that, like right after, and I talked about this towards the end of last episode's recap, but we get the scene of Memphis putting his arm, putting David in the headlock, saying, "Put your head up, you'll be all right, buddy." So maybe as the season progresses, we're going to get a Memphis-David relationship resurrection or something. So maybe that's a storyline to look out for. That'd be pretty hilarious.
Memphis is one of the ones too. Memphis is like, bro, come on. Like, you should be
Right.
happy right now. Like, why are you acting sad? Like,
Yeah, because he went a little overboard right when they announced that. Like I saw the tears and I'm like, okay, he's doing the same thing he just did to Davon, but he like kept on crying. He looked like a nervous wreck, and then Memphis was just like, you should be excited, man. Like, what are you doing? So
yeah, like it's too much. Like, cry, but be happy. Do a
right.
happy medium, you know? But yeah, so that's going on. Nobody buys into that. Everybody reads right through it. It was a waste of time for David. I don't know why he thought that would work. People have tried that before. It never works, ever. But Cody and Enzo, they're talking, and they're worried about this Tyler backdoor situation. And this conversation, it kind of sets up the tone of the episode, like what the story for this episode is going to be, where they're worried about it, and they talk about Danny and Tyler have a bit of an issue with each other.
Right. And finally, Enzo and Cody have something that doesn't go their way. I mean, nonetheless, they're playing great games, but I said this in previous recaps. I always like the players who are able to overcome adversity at some point throughout the season and, not have their way throughout the whole course of the game. But yeah, they basically say that they want Tyler to stay. They hope that they can keep Noms the same. And Enzo's like, oh, that whole disruptor thing was messed up, yo. This is going to blow our spot, yo. So yeah, they just want a gun for the veto if they get picked and keep it the same because they think it's a little too early to blow up the committee. And also, Cody hinted at this in one of the previous episodes, and I'm sure Enzo feels the same way, where they want to keep Tyler around as a shield because they don't necessarily want to go deep with him, but they just want to keep him for a little bit longer just to keep the target off of them.
Right, yeah, they want to keep him till probably around like the 6 or 7 mark, maybe the 8 mark, just to kind of just in case. That way, when they get smaller numbers, there's 2 or 3 of them there, and they can because when you have like 12 or 13 people, 3 people strong isn't that great. But when you get it down to like 7 people, now it's not majority, but you can swing something, right? So they're trying to keep him around till then. There's no way they let Tyler go any further, than that. In my opinion, I could be completely wrong, but Enzo's a loyal guy. If Enzo's out there to protect you, he may protect you for a while. Like he wants Cody and he wants Tyler. Those are his 2 people, and then he's got Christmas on the back end too if he needs Christmas. So I like where Enzo's at. We get a little bit of him in this episode. The first moment that I thought was kind of funny in this episode, though, was when Christmas, Danny, and Cody are sitting in the HOH room, and he goes like, "Yo, I don't even know if these powers even exist, yo." and I'm like, "You're the only one in the room that doesn't have one, Cody. You're the only one in the room that doesn't have one." Like, you're right, because I think doesn't Danny and Christmas have the other 2?
Danny and Christmas have the other 2, and they're just like, oh, what's going on with these powers? And you just see Danny like, yikes. Like, I don't know. She's just making all these like, passive remarks, just trying to like change the conversation. But Cody is like, he's saying like, I wonder if any of these people even got the powers during the competition. Like, did they have anything to do with nominations? I'm like, yeah, these are our all-stars. Like, they don't even think they have nothing to do with the nominations, when clearly if you've watched any season of Big Brother, a power probably can influence nominations in one way or another. So I'm just like, I'm watching that. I'm just like, really, Cody? Like, come on.
I keep seeing and hearing and reading that Cody has a stranglehold on this house. Anything anybody wants goes through Cody. And I'm just like, I don't see it. I don't. He's in the dark on where these powers are. Right now, Davon, does something in this episode. I don't want to go too far, but she does something in this episode, and Cody's not happy about it. I'm just thinking, like, he doesn't have as much of a stronghold as people think in this house. He had a good couple of first weeks, but since then, I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think the power's shifting. It's more of an even balance. If anybody, I think right now Enzo is controlling everything in the house because he finds a way week after week after week to just stay safe, but he's in every alliance.
He's well protected. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. He's got Cody, he's got Christmas, Danny, probably Tyler. Everyone seems to be willing to talk to him. Like, everyone wants to be his friend, whether that's on a game level or a social level. And he's affiliated with every faction in this house. I mean, even when the Slick Six broke up, like, the smoke boiled over or whatever, and he just came out of that clean when the target was just mainly on Cody, Davon, and Bailey in that instance. So he's, playing a great game so far. And I mean, this is just a testament to how he played in BB12, where his social game was excellent, and he's been able to win some comps as well. So Enzo's definitely in a good spot moving forward.
So the show's, I mean, I understand the show's edited, but if he's running the house so much, we'll get to this. I'll revisit that, Alex. We'll get back because I don't want to jump too far ahead, but we'll get back to that. Just give us a little bit of time. But so we come back, and there's an announcement. People are all over the house, and then this creepy ass voice comes up and it's like, house guests, go to the living room. And at that point, we know that the disruptor power, everybody knows that's being used now. So the house is about to find out. David uses the power, unbeknownst to everybody, I guess. I'm not sure at this point. But he uses the power. He pulls himself off, and Danny has to nominate a third person. And you want to go in detail on who she nominated and kind of why that happened?
Yeah, so basically David's removed from the block using the power on himself, and Danny's just super flustered, and she really doesn't have any time to think about it. I mean, I'm sure she may have thought about it beforehand, but she just kind of has to make an on-the-spot decision, and she ends up naming Tyler as the replacement nomination. Just basically a spur-of-the-moment decision. She had been hinting at initially naming Tyler before the original nomination ceremony for taking a shot at him, because obviously he exposed her to Davon right before Bailey left that Danny wanted to go after them. So there's a little bit of angst between them. So Danny wanted to take the first shot, but she ends up putting up Tyler here, and Tyler isn't really happy about it, but Danny essentially just tries to sell him on the idea that there wasn't many other options, which goes right over Tyler's head. He doesn't believe that for a second, and we're looking at a Danny versus Tyler war brewing, at least for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened for the last couple of. They've been building towards this Tyler Danny situation. We've been talking about this, where there's so many different alliances. You're walking on eggshells. At some point, they're going to absolutely explode. And I think I can't remember if it was myself or yourself. I think maybe a week or two ago said that if Danny wins the HOH, that's when it happens. I think one of us said that when Danny wins the HOH, that's when it's going to go. Things are going to go crazy. It just so happens that this Danny, it's not because of Danny. It's because of, the veto. The veto winner uses the veto. Spoiler alert. The veto winner uses the veto, the disruptor power. So she's got to nominate all these different people where she didn't really want to. So, normally she's the one pushing the action. She's being forced to push the action this week.
Right.
But yeah, so she nominates Tyler. She makes the point to say Tyler's not the target. I mean, that's why do they do these things? Why do they do these things to where they lie openly? Everybody knows it's a lie. Nobody believes this, but they still feel the need to say it. It's not easing Tyler's mind. It's not easing the house's mind. It's not easing her mind. She's just saying it.
Right. And she tries to pretend like she's panicking. She puts her hands on her head. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I didn't have many other options. And, she doesn't say anything other than that than just saying, like, you can play in veto now. You can play in veto now. Danny, you just nominated someone in your alliance. I'm sure he's not, he's glad he's able to save himself in veto, but he's not looking forward to being on the block and having to fight for his life. And as we see, that goes right over Tyler's head. So I don't know. I'd still go back and forth. I don't know if it was necessarily the smart move to blow up the alliance, even though it was already fractured, but Danny goes for it. And we saw that in 13, and she's, as you said, she's kind of forced to do it here in All-Stars.
And maybe it's a situation where she was a little bit flustered because in the previous episode on Sunday, we did see the Tyler Danny situation where he says, hey, if you want to put me up, that's fine. Basically, like, just don't backdoor me. Like, give me a chance, right? So,
right.
And Tyler even comments on that as well. When he gets nominated, he's actually like, this might be a silver lining for me because this was in his mind, he was thinking, this is probably going to happen either way. I'm glad it happened this way because now I can play in veto and possibly save myself.
Right. And yeah, he's happy to get a chance to save himself. But do you think he was being genuine last episode when he said he wanted to move forward to the Final Four with Danny? I don't know. I
think if it he's one of those guys to where I think when he says it, he means it, but there's always an ulterior game motive. Like, I believe that he thinks he wants to work with Danny, but in reality, he knows that he can't. So it's one of those situations where he goes up there, he says, hey, Danny, yeah, we'll We'll work all the way to Final Four. I want to do that. But when he takes a step back, he looks at it and he looks at the game and he goes, there's no way I'm going to be able to take her to Final Four. One of us is going to have to go. I mean, it's just not going to work out that way.
And that's exactly what happened in season 20 with him. He made all these final twos with Brett, Sam, JC, and Casey, and comes final six and he realizes he can't beat Brett, so he has to send him packing, and same goes for Sam and JC in the following week. So you're right. I mean, he wants to be able to help everyone out in this game and bring them further along, but if these people watched him in season 20, they kind of have to take everything he says with a grain of salt and not take it for gospel. So it's a tough situation.
Right. And the one that we missed with the whole David he's going, oh, would you save me? Did you save me? Is I don't think we commented on Davon looking at him square in the face and going, if I had that power, I would have used it last week, David. Like,
right.
I wouldn't have used it this week. I wouldn't have waited a week. I would have used it last week when my number one was on the block with me and would have given us a chance. Yeah.
Right. I mean, maybe this is his way of still trying to play dumb, but it's kind of like beating a dead horse at this point. And as I said, it just, in my opinion, it would make you seem more sneaky. So it was funny for us.
It's just an obvious spot. Everybody knows David used the power. Just admit it. Own it. He needs moments. He needs them. Otherwise, he's going to get to the end. And it's going to be like, what did you do? He's going to be like, I fake cried.
I fake cried. Yeah. I mean, the first 20 minutes were the David show, but would I say it was necessarily good gameplay? That remains to be seen. But, I'm happy he's making it far. I'm happy for him as a person.
That was what I was thinking right here is he's going around asking all these people. I would have laughed if Memphis goes, yeah, I used it. Like not knowing that David saved himself and Memphis tries to accept responsibility for it. That would have been great. I would have loved to see something like that because then now you're turning the tables on him. Now David is like, okay, now this guy's lying back to me. Like, what do I do here? But that would have been fun. Top
10, friendship rejuvenations, Memphis lies about saving. That would have been something. That would have been funny. But right. I don't get the gameplay from David, but I enjoyed it. He's having fun.
In the DR, he has these somewhat good ideas. Sometimes, he knows his position in the game. He just can't. He forms an action plan, and then when it's time to actually perform it, he fumbles and blunders and just ruins everything.
Well, and we saw it last season. I mean, when he was in Camp Comeback, he perfectly identified the 6 shooters to Kat, but he wasn't really enforcing that idea on her. So he was just saying, I'm pretty sure there's an alliance, where he should have been there's an alliance and you're on the outs. So that probably could have helped Kat maybe get a little further. But you are right. He has these bold ideas and he has a good read on things in the house both seasons, but he just hasn't been able to execute.
He doesn't have that strategic mind. It's like he's looking at the house and he's reading a book and he sees all the stories and he sees what's going on, but he can't get out of his own way.
Right.
He just can't do it. He's had plenty of opportunities. Earlier in the season when they came up to him in that one room, he was sitting by himself and they were asking him, "Are you the hinky vote?" And he could have joined in the conversation and started the investigative process with them and tried to find out. But instead he goes, "Why are you asking me that? Why is this important?" It's that's an opportunity for you, David, to get in with people, and you're choosing not to do it.
And he was socially distancing from them, if you will, and he was just saying, he's like, "What do you mean? Why are you asking me this?" And it just makes him look more suspicious. So we'll see. But, happy he's getting the full Big Brother experience after what happened last summer.
Yes. I mean, I'm glad he is too. I mean, he's not playing well, but, it happens. But so we move on to the next thing. And this is another blunder of the episode, in my opinion, by Danny. So it's Danny and Christmas in the HOH room. She wants to talk with Christmas. And she goes, and she's trying to plan ahead, right? So she pulls Christmas aside and she goes, "I need somebody who would be a pawn and would not go home." And I think that would probably be you. What? You're not even gonna ease her into this. You're just gonna pull her aside and just go for it for no reason. Like this conversation wasn't needed.
Right. And yeah, like Christmas has actually been playing solidly well the last couple of weeks within her alliance. She's asking all the right questions. She's making all the right moves. And I know a lot of us are giving hate for Christmas on not being a true all-star, and I still stand by that. But but yeah, I mean, she's playing well these last couple of weeks, and it was good for her to, just check in with Danny, one of her alliance members. But yeah, the way Danny handled it, it's just like, I didn't have many options. And then Christmas says right away, why didn't you just put up the two people we're not working with? It would have just been a slam dunk. And then Danny says, oh, well, then if I have to put up a pawn, if someone else comes off, I'm thinking about putting up either you or Memphis because you guys would have the votes to stay. And I'm like, you're just telling the person you're talking to, oh, I might have to put you up at the end of the week. It's like
why would you give them any extra time to plan for this? If that is what you're wanting to do, just do it and then explain to them after the fact. I mean, I understand that they're in this alliance, these two fragile alliances, but when you're walking on eggshells everywhere, you don't want to drop a bomb like that before you even know if you have to drop a bomb like that, right? We don't even know who the veto players are. We don't know if the veto is being used. We don't know anything about the veto currently. And she's up there talking about, hey, I'm going to put you on the block if I have to. Like, what? Like, just, man.
Does she want the alliance that she is so well positioned to like completely crumble right away? It's just, I don't know. I don't get it. And you don't tell the person like, I just put up one of our alliance members and I may have to put you up next to them if someone else comes off. It's just like, that's not good gameplay. And
she should have let Christmas throw names out there. So just be like, Christmas, like, if we've got to use the veto, who should I put up? Who do you think I should put up? And then she goes, and then she like names, and you discuss it with her a little bit, and then you go, you work into it. You go, Christmas, look, we need somebody safe up there if we want Tyler to go home. Blah blah blah. Would you be willing? Something like that. You don't just directly look at her and go, listen, you're going up. It's just like, oh man, you got to be tactful. You got to find ways to work your way into these conversations. But
she could have left it at Memphis too. She could have just said, "I may have to put up Memphis, not Memphis and Christmas," because I'm sure if you put Memphis up, he's not going to care. He's going to be like, "Whatever," He's just going to chill on the block. No one's going to vote him out.
All right. So, oh boy. So now let's get to America's favorite player. I say that, and it's not true. Nicole Franzel. So we have about a 2-minute, no, maybe a 1-minute segment with Nicole where she's shunning the slopetard.
Slopetard, yep.
Yeah, she's shunning the slopetard. She's getting rid of the slopetard. It's her last day. She jumps in the pool, and she said, she comes out and she goes, everyone say goodbye to the slopetard. And I was hoping, in the back of my mind, say goodbye to Nicole, like, so she could go. That's what I was hoping. Like, we could leave the slopetard on the nomination chair for a little bit, and Nicole, you can go, and we'll just vote out the slopetard on Wednesday or Thursday. I
don't even think it was. I feel like it was like 45 seconds or something like that. But again, like, nothing. This has nothing to do with Nicole. CBS, Big Brother editors, I don't need to see that in my episode. I don't need to see Nicole just saying that and then doing like a victory jump into the pool. Like, what was the point of that? If you're not going to elaborate on it, just leave it out of the episode. The casual doesn't care. We're going to lose
2 to 3 hours of our life throughout this season just looking at these dumb costumes and star pillows. We're never gonna get that. Yeah, we're never gonna get that time back. It's just, but yeah. So we go through the veto, the player picks. Danny picks Davon, Tyler picks Ian, and Kevin picks Enzo. So
that's it, yo.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so what they have to do is it's called microbrew, and they basically gotta take these like little tiny, like probably smaller than this, probably. They've got to take and with these little tweezer tongs deals, and they got to stack 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in a pyramid, right?
Right. So they have to stack 15 of these beers on like the mini bar using a tweezer, and the biggest handicap in this competition is that once you start accumulating a stack of these beers, the tweezer starts knocking some of them off, and we see multiple players struggle with this. But I honestly like this competition. You know, I could have gone without the animations at the beginning where Nicole's like shooting off whatever that was.
I wasn't even going to address that. I was like, I'm not even writing it down. Like, that's just, I'm just going to let that go. Like
right. It was goofy, but yeah, I mean, this was a cool competition. It was new. I felt like it was fair.
This competition, I would have been terrible. I'll finish last 99 out of 100 times in the competition.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have been trembling a lot. And, you know, if I get to like 13, you know, oh, God, like 2 more. Oh, I just knocked over the whole thing with my tweezers. So, you know.
Who was it they called Dr. Jitters?
Cody.
No, who did he call Dr. Jitters?
Though? Oh, he called Enzo Dr. Jitters.
Yeah, and he go back to him and his hands like it's like shaking. It's like, oh man,
and it was bad. In the DR they did a side by side when he was imitating Enzo, and he did the whole Enzo thing where he licks his lips, and they like timed it perfectly. That was funny.
And that was uncomfortable to watch. I just could not
Well, the whole thing was just so awkward from like their heads just peeping in this little area. And then like they were all watching the veto competition, that little monitor. They were huddled up in the front of the living room. I don't know. It was just kind of awkward, but you know, I like these new comps I thought this was a fun comp to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wrote down actually Enzo so bad. I wrote that down. But yeah, so it comes down to it. Kevin comes pretty close. He's got, I think, maybe 2 more bottles to stack, and he knocks him off. And Davon ends up winning veto, which if you're a viewer and you're looking for things to happen, this is best case scenario is Davon winning the veto. There's literally
nothing to lose.
Do what?
Right. Yeah, she has nothing to lose, and congratulations to Davon. You know, this is her 3rd season, and this is her first comp win. So, even though it was a mini veto that she won this time, it counts.
Yeah, okay. And when we get to the veto ceremony, they didn't even give her a normal size veto. They made her use the tiny veto at the ceremony.
Right. That was kind of overkill at that point, just like the Christmas stars or whatever. I don't know. I don't get what Big Brother thinks. Like do we think this is funny? Right. Like, do we think this is funny? Like, do we care about continuity? No, just, I don't know. It's just weird.
And are you by any chance a wrestling fan?
Not really, but I know a few wrestlers.
So there's this group in the WWE called the New Day. And, okay. And their whole mantra when they come in, their intro music is "It's a new day, yes it is." That's their whole thing, and then they start dancing. And when Davon won veto, she said, "It's a new chapter, it's a new game, it's a new life." And I was thinking, please say it's a new day. Please say it's a new day. But she didn't say it. And I was like, I'm a wrestling fan. So I was like, the wrestling fan in me was like so disappointed. I was like, why did she not say it's a new day? Maybe she's not aware of that reference, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. So if you guys watch this and you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google or YouTube New Day WWE, and it'll be stuck in your head every time you see Davon. I can't see Davon now without hearing that music or seeing him dance. But yeah, so Kevin basically goes right to Davon. I mean, it doesn't. I know it's edited and there's a lot of time that lapses. It seems like Kevin makes a beeline for Davon to talk with her about the veto.
Right, and he wants her to use the veto on him, but Davon is hesitant because she doesn't want them to be seen as a duo, which, honestly,
he knows what I'm talking about. He knows what I'm talking about. That's their next thing. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. But honestly, I don't know if it really. Obviously, Davon wants to stay loyal to Danny, but really, Davon has nothing to lose if her and Kevin, in my opinion, are seen as a duo. Like, she even said it to Danny later. It's 3 against 8. So what does she have to lose? Because they all know David, Kevin, and Davon are on the outs. So, you know, she wants to I guess she wants to build something with Danny, but does she not forget that Danny was plotting to go against her a couple weeks ago? So I don't know. I understand both sides of it, but I just don't think Davon has anything to lose by using the veto on Kevin.
All right. I'm looking at the chat. It's just there's a lot of New Day
stuff.
Yeah, there's one that I see that I want to put on here, but I'm not going to. Aiden, yes, that's funny. But yeah, so Yeah, so Kevin basically wants him to use it. Davon, like you said, Davon wants to save him. She's got this thing with Danny that she's trying to rebuild, rekindle. But let's be serious here. There's a battle brewing there. It's gonna happen. Whether they want to or not, whether they're friends or not in the game, this battle is gonna happen.
Yeah, there's interest in working with each other. It's interesting. It's kind of like the most recent season of Survivor, just to put it in perspective, when the swap tribe of winners was it's like Ben, Boston, Rob, and Adam. They were in the majority, but what happened on the tribe, their original tribe, made them all lose trust with each other. So where it makes sense for them to all work together, they don't trust each other and they can't really look past that. And that's kind of what we're looking at with Davon and Danny, where they're interested in working with each other to help further each other in the game, but they've been onto each other for weeks and they don't know if they can look past that. So it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
Yeah. What hope did she have of working with Danny? Like, sure, Danny would give her another week, but I mean, her alliance isn't protecting Davon. Danny's protecting Davon. So working with Danny doesn't get her very much farther.
I think she's thinking that Danny can help her work into this majority alliance that Danny's in. So Davon's hoping she can find an in there, but she probably didn't realize at the time that Danny's kind of the outcast in this majority alliance. So you are right. There's not much Danny can do for her other than keep her safe this week.
Right. And I just Davon makes the right move, but we'll get to that here in a second. Let's see here. Yeah, so the conversation we discussed where Christmas and Danny are talking about using the veto and Christmas may be a replacement nominee if that happens. Christmas basically looks at him and says, why not Enzo or Ian? Why wouldn't we just pick one of those two? And that I think that kind of shifts the tone of the episode a little bit. It starts heading towards a different path than what I thought it was going to go. I thought for sure, without a doubt, that if Tyler was going to be up there, she was going to put another big target, a huge target up there next to him and just say, you know what, to hell with it. This week's already been crazy. I'm getting a big name out of here. I'm not wasting this. I've already nominated 4 people. I'm getting a big name out.
Right. And yeah, basically Christmas was the right idea here because obviously Danny could have been so inclined once again to just put up another member of her alliance and just, blow the whole thing open. But she just points out the 2 people who aren't in an alliance with anyone or aren't affiliated with them, and Enzo and Ian, and she just basically puts the pressure on them to be one of the replacement nominees. And obviously, we cut to Nicole in one of the very next scenes. She doesn't want Ian to go because they are working together, and if he goes as the male winner, she's not only the female winner left, but the only winner left in the house. So that probably increases her target level a bit. So. Yeah, basically there's a lot of conflicting opinions and if Ian goes on the block and what they'll do if it comes down to Ian and Tyler, which we'll get into in a second. But basically the pressure is put on putting up Ian since everyone's good with Enzo.
Yeah, that's the next thing we're getting to here, Kim, is Cody in the committee and his utter just lack of information. I don't know about. So Tyler and Cody are talking. And Tyler's basically like, look, it's gonna be me. Like she's gonna use the veto on Kevin, and somebody's gonna go up, and I'm gonna be the target to go home. And Cody goes, no shot, not happening. She's gonna do basically what we want. Like what gives him the confidence here to basically say that the person we've alienated won the veto, they're not going to do everything they can to get back at us. Like, what kind of just ego does he have here?
Right. And I mean, it's just he keeps trying to control people who are outside of his alliance. I mean, he tried to do it with David. He's trying to do it with Davon. And it's like, what do you expect? Like, if Kevin and Tyler, based on what we're seeing in the edited shows, if Kevin and Tyler were to remain on the block, I think it's safe to say Kevin probably goes over Tyler because I think Tyler has the numbers and people – I think that'd be a stupid move, but people would send home Kevin nonetheless. So why wouldn't she save someone in the minority with her when it's 8 versus 3? It just makes perfect sense from a game move. Like she even said she needs Kevin in this house. So I don't know what Cody expected. I'm with you on that. He's being a little oblivious to how people are thinking in the game.
Yeah, fashion. I mean, I don't understand what your point is here. She's going scorched earth from the bottom. That's really all she's got. Her and you say it's not a long-term strategy. She doesn't have a lot of time left in this game if she doesn't do something like this. She's got 2 weeks left, 3 weeks max. I mean, she's not protected by anybody. So why not throw somebody? Use that veto. You got David. Now you've got Kevin. You got 3. I mean, that's better than relying on Danny, who can't win the next HOH to protect you.
Right. Why not save someone in the minority and force the majority to go after each other? I mean, it just makes perfect sense, live to see another day. And, if anything else can come from that, Kevin is for sure 100% with Dave on now if he already wasn't with her. So it just makes perfect sense for her.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to get an ally. Your game's already on the line. Build as many relationships as you can. Otherwise, you're relying on Danny. And like I said, she can't win HOH next week. If her alliance wins HOH, guess who's going to go on the block?
Does she have who has the power? Is it Danny who has the power where the HOH can play in back-to-back weeks? Is Danny or Christmas?
Christmas, I believe.
Christmas. Okay. So yeah, she wouldn't use it on Danny, and yeah, Danny's a sinking ship. So, I wouldn't latch onto that and just try and build something somewhere else.
Yeah. And yeah, let me just go through. Okay. Yeah. So we went over Tyler and Cody. Tyler thinks she'll use it. So Danny comes into the HOH room with Cody and basically just says, "Hey, she's going to use the veto. She's pulling Kevin off. She hasn't told me that's what she's going to do, but I know that's what she's going to do." And Cody looks absolutely just 100% offended. Like somebody just slapped his mother in the face. And it's like, why would she do something like that? What do you mean, why would she do something like that? Why would she do something for her own game and not yours? Like what? Like, why are you upset?
Right. And I mean, it doesn't make
okay, so Danny does have the power. She has the power. She can play in next week's HOH. Okay, so my point may be null and void then, but still, I still stand by my previous statement. But
right, that's the only leverage Danny really has. I mean, her weeks are numbered in this house. But yeah, I mean, Cody, he's just saying we need to keep Tyler. We need to stay strong. It's too early to blow up the committee, and he just flabbergasted that anyone thinks differently than he does in the game. So, this is All-Stars, buddy. It's not going to be a cakewalk like it was for you and Derek in 16. Not everyone's just going to pander to your strategy of going with the house. So,
yeah. And Danny had a great episode here. So she then looks at Cody square in the face, no punches pulled, and says, "Will you vote out Tyler?
Will you vote out a member of our alliance? Will you blow up your own game?"
What? That's the second person in this episode that she has just gone up and said something ridiculous to in her alliance. So now you've got Christmas, who you've told you're going to use as a pawn when veto hadn't even been determined yet. And then you've got Cody saying, "Hey, vote out one of your boys," that are both in your alliance. So you're like, what is she doing? Like, why is she doing this?
And Nicole Nicole even says in a DR, "I don't like what Danny's done this week." So she's alienated not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 members of her core alliance. So yeah, it just what's the end game here, Danny? Are you just trying to, blow up your own game for viewers' sake? I don't know.
This is what she does. This is her game. She goes in there. She plants all those seeds like we talked about. She decides who her people are, her maybe 2 closest people, and she'll throw anybody else under the bus that she can. Anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. And right now, all she has and I don't know, judging by the replacement nominee, Nicole is the only person that's super close to her. And I don't know how that's going to work out.
She could have put herself in so much better of a position if she kept Tyler. I mean, again, I don't know. She definitely could have been flustered in that situation where she named Tyler as a replacement. But if she keeps Tyler off the block, that shows Tyler, okay, we can work through whatever problems we have. That's a number on her side. Obviously, Cody's good with her. Enzo's good with her. Memphis is probably good with her. So she could have played this week so much better and been so much more well protected after having a rough last couple of weeks where she planted the seeds to try and turn on the committee, but she just botched it. And I mean, she's just not in a good spot moving forward.
And this is about the same time she did it last time too. It's like it just hurt. She has
early jury
in the game. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So let me see what I marked off something. I want to make sure I go back. Oh yeah, Cody then looks at her square in the face right back and says, "No." No, like negotiating, like, well, maybe, what about this? Can we talk about it? He just flat out looks at her and goes, "No, not doing it."
And, Cody's thinking the way Danny should be thinking. I mean, Cody only views Tyler as an asset or a shield, which is what Danny should be seeing him as. I mean, people forget this guy, he's probably, he's one of, if not the only true all-star left in the house, in my opinion. He was 1 vote away from winning his season. So he's just like the perfect shield to keep around. He's loyal. I mean, he proved his loyalty last season to an extent. He's not Christmas Abbott loyal, but he's pretty dang loyal to his alliances until the very end. So if you alienate him, and he's good at competition, so good chances if he stays and he wins HOH, he's going to come after you.
So we move on to the final blunder for Danny on the episode. And I think it's the last conversation that she has before the veto is with Davon.
Yeah.
That's the last conversation she had before the veto was used? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I didn't understand this tactic for her where she goes in and basically tells Davon, hey, don't use it. I'm better for your game than what you actually understand or know. And there's 2 options that people have, right? When you're backed into a corner, there's fight or flight, right?
Right.
And let me tell you, I've never been more confident in anything in my life than you put Davon in a corner. She ain't fighting, all right? She's coming out swinging. And that's exactly what happened. I think that might be what pushed Davon over the edge and said, I'm going to use the veto.
Right. And I mean, yeah, like you said, Danny, sure, you can stay during her HOH reign, but what else can Danny do to help you get far in the game? She has no leverage, no agency. You saw it front and center. She just completely screwed her own alliance by, trying to explode it probably a little bit too early. So, yeah. And I mean, she says, like, obviously it wasn't, this is where we always say in these recaps, like, always say yes to something like, are you going to vote this person out? Yes. Even if you go back on it. This is one of those instances where that kind of came back and bit Davon in the backside, because she said she wouldn't use the veto if she won it. And obviously she won it, and now she will be going against her word. So, that's kind of a tricky situation to handle. But, she does say, like, I'm considering using it on Kevin. Obviously, Danny isn't happy about that. She's like, I'm going to be very upset if you use it on Kevin. I don't know if we'll be able to continue building on whatever we're developing together. So, yeah, I mean, it was the right decision to make for Davon to use the veto, but she probably burned a bridge with Danny. Not that it matters. And the way Danny handled it, trying to be like a godfather, like, you need to go with me. Like, I'll be upset if you don't do this. I hope we can move forward. I don't know if I'll be able to forgive you. So Danny botched it, but Davon also didn't do too many favors by saying initially she would keep nominations the same. So, yeah, I keep rambling on, but Danny did not handle this conversation well. But Davon,
no, she power moved.
Right.
And I'm of the same mindset as Davon. Like, if you put me in the corner and you tell me that you know what's better for me than what I do, and you're telling me what to do, and I have the power. I mean, 99 out of 100 times I'm doing what Davon did. I'm coming out, I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm causing havoc. And then I'm going to look you square in the eyes, and I'm going to say, let's talk now. Right? Don't try to push me where you want to go because it's better for you. That's not how I would play. I would have done the same thing Davon did. And in the chat, there's a few people, they're saying, what does Kevin offer more than Danny for Davon? Kevin now owes his game to Davon. Danny doesn't owe her game to Davon. She's got 100% loyalty from Kevin. 100%.
Right. And we go back to, yeah, I mean, right. Kevin Kevin's 100% loyal, whereas with Danny, especially after what Davon just did using the veto, I mean, Danny can easily just go in a
if Danny
different
were to
direction.
win HOH again, and you go and you talk to Danny and you say, "Hey, Danny, we discussed this. We're good. We're building something here." She could say, "Yeah, totally fine. We're totally great." You walk out the room, you've got 5 other people that are coming in that room that are working with Danny and are telling Danny what to do. So you've got to worry about that. But if you've got Kevin, and if Kevin wins HOH and you go in there and you say, "Hey, Kevin, I saved you. Your game. I protected you. Protect me." 0% chance Kevin puts up Davon.
Exactly, and Kevin's going to latch right onto that because he has no other options. He's in no other alliance, so he's going to do anything he can to maximize the loyalty of his one true connection in this house now. So Kevin had a solid showing tonight. I mean, he gained an ally, a true ally.
See, and then Davon already knows the house dynamic. She already knows who's in an alliance. So Danny's not offering any more information than Davon already has. So that's because Davon's already told Danny straight to her face, there's a big alliance in this house. So I mean, she already knows what's going on. But yeah, so no, I don't know if Kevin wins HOH, but I'm just saying I think she made the right move. You guys might disagree with me. I think protecting Kevin, having David, you've got more options than just sticking with just Danny, hoping that she does what you want.
Right. And she has someone now in Kevin who's 100% willing to work with her. Whereas even if she does what Danny says, Danny could easily just say next week, like, I know I screwed up with the alliance, but let's just stay committee strong just for this week and let's get out Davon, someone who's been trying to challenge us as a group. So let's just get Davon out and then we can come after each other. So my point being, Kevin will be 100% loyal to Davon, whereas Danny, the whole trust between them is up in the air. So I think it was the right move too.
Yeah, so the replacement nominee, so Davon uses the veto on Kevin. Danny has to replace the nomination, the 4th nominee this week for her, and she nominates Ian. She puts Ian on the block. And she had a discussion to where she felt the only 2 options that she had were Enzo and Ian. And she ended up choosing Ian, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that choice.
For her, it makes sense because I think she's cool with Enzo. Enzo's an affiliate of the alliance that she's in. But with Ian, it's kind of easy to put him up there and say, like, he's a former winner. You got someone else in Tyler who probably should have won his season. So just getting, like you said, kind of getting a big target out of there. But was it the right move? I don't know. It's tough. I maybe would have gone after someone else. Like maybe just if you're going to go after your alliance partially and already make 4 of your alliance members mad, why not make the 5th one mad and just get someone out of there that you wanted to get out? I don't know. It's a tough situation. This week had a lot of tough like game moves that honestly you can make arguments for both sides to if they were right or not.
Yeah. And Ian was 100% correct. Even if he's not the target, which he is, somehow Ian's the target. How from Sunday to Tuesday, Ian is now the target is beyond me, but
we got no footage on that too. That was kind of the most frustrating thing. It's like they had the one conversation where Ian was broached as a potential replacement, and then Ian's the nomination. We got no narration from Ian this whole episode on what he was thinking.
Maybe they'll show it to us on Thursday.
I hope so. I mean, the only thing we got was him saying, I want to win the veto so I can shake things up. And then obviously at the end when he like kicked a chair or something in the DR, he was not happy to be named the replacement on.
He was fired up. I like that Ian. I like the Ian that gets up there and cusses a little bit. You got to bleep him out. And he's throwing the DR apart. And he's like raging. Like that's the Ian I want to see. That's the guy, the no cares given Ian, just going out there guns blazing.
My favorite thing from BB14 when he was having a toe-to-toe with Frank when Frank had the tomato suit on and he was just like yelling at him like that's just classic
that's
Big Brother.
Ian. Like a lot of people like the calm Ian, the relaxed, smart Ian. I like the raging, angry, vengeful Ian. That is who I like. Like When he won, I think he won the final HOH in his season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did.
And he brought Dan to the end, and in his final speech, he was fired up, and he was like, "Let me tell you why I brought Dan." Like that's that, and
right.
I like that Ian, and I wish that Ian would come out more because he'd be a better game player that way. But but yeah, so he's on the block. Tyler's on the block. It's
a lot of bad acting from this veto ceremony, though. Devon saying when she was pulling off Kevin, she's like, "You are not my ally, but you are my friend. I'm going to save you." Like, is anyone buying that? Like, we all know you're aligned now. I mean, you said it yourself. You guys are a clean-cut duo. And then Ian read right through Danny saying, "This person is a true pawn. I am campaigning for Tyler to go home." Like, come on. Like, let's stop with the acting. And then, we get Nicole's crocodile tears and all that stuff.
Oh, that's the last thing I have written down. I couldn't end this episode without talking about Nicole some more. Is why I don't know what words I want to use for this. Why do we care at the end of this episode if Nicole is that upset? What did she contribute to the episode to where that's what we end on?
Well, this does dip in. I mean, I know you're aware of this. How like Nicole, we talked about this episode where Nicole lost some sponsors over something that happened last week. So people think this is just her way of saving face for the public, or maybe she's just feeling guilty about how she partaked in those actions last week regarding mocking Ian. So you guys know what I'm talking about probably, but maybe this is just her way of like feeling guilty and saving face. But yeah, I just not a fan of watching that. Didn't need to see it.
Right.
Because I don't think it was genuine. I mean, it was just her looking out for herself. I mean, I think the DR told her like, what you did mocking Ian was wrong, but this is just her trying to save her public image. So I don't know. I didn't need to see that to end the episode. That's for sure. I don't want to see her talk to us. She has nothing to do with the episode. She had no effect on the decision that was made. I want to see more Ian. I want to see more Danny. I want to see more maybe some Cody, because Cody was really animated in this episode. I want to see Enzo. Yeah, I don't care. Hey, yeah, anytime I get Enzo, give me Enzo. I mean, literally anybody else to close out the episode, I would have been good with, but they chose Nicole. You could have given me David because David used the power. You could have given me Kevin got saved. Danny, HOH, any of the nominees that were nommed at one point. Enzo, for finding out that he's one of the, he was one of the two people that could have been put up. I mean, they literally could have given us anybody. Memphis. Could have given me Memphis for all I care.
Give me Memphis. I don't care what Memphis talks about. I mean, but Nicole, like, I don't get it. I don't understand their fascination with Nicole. She gets more airtime. She hasn't done anything. I just don't. I don't know. I do not know. But Rat Cole. Kim. Yeah, we have a patron member, Kim, who is on it, and she is a Nicole just hater, and she updates us every time she loses a sponsorship, and I love it. But yeah, guys, so that's the recap of the episode. We will not be on tomorrow because there is no episode tomorrow. Thursday we'll be Surviving Big Brother with Russell, and then we'll be back on Sunday, and Wednesday next week we'll be back on schedule. So we will see you guys on Sunday.
Alrighty, see you guys Sunday.